So you've been sailing for 36 plus years. I bet Michelle has never made a mistake. Are you kidding me? Of course I've made mistakes, but I'm here to help you so that you don't make the same mistakes. Hey everyone, I'm Michelle. Welcome back to Diaz on Deck Travel, where I love sharing cruise information, my experiences, my opinions, and things to help you avoid making the same mistakes. Now, as promised, I am going to end this video with a cuckoo banana story that falls in line with tip number 6. But before I do that, if you would, please do the boop, 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 like, subscribe, follow, and share. It helps me bring you more of these crazy cuckoo banana stories and take you on my adventures with me. Don't forget to turn on your notifications so that you will be notified every time I upload a video. Well, I have to tell you that in 36 plus years, I have made some mistakes. And most of these mistakes were made years ago. And I like sharing them with you because I want to make sure you don't make the same mistakes. Now, when I think about mistakes, I think about my dad. And this is what he always said: learn from other people's mistakes so you don't have to make them yourself. So that's what I'm here to help you do. And, I have got to tell you that some of these mistakes happen even before you set sail. So let's talk about number 1. Flying in the same day as your cruise. That is just a very risky thing to do, especially if you're going on an international trip. Internationally, I would say try to get there at least 2 days before. Domestically, 1 day should be enough. But the things that people don't consider when they're flying in is the fact that there could be bags lost. There could be weather delays and cancellations. I mean, there could just be so many things that happen that you can't get to your cruise. And that's going to be a really expensive lesson to learn. Now, if you are booking your airfare through your cruise line, they are going to do everything in their power to make sure you get there. But if you are not, you are taking a risk. And also, Norwegian, for example, they won't even book an airline ticket for you that doesn't come in the day before if you're booking through them. So just be aware of that. Now, number 2, not packing a carry-on bag. Okay, this is where a lot of people go wrong. Your carry-on bag is going to have some of your most essential things. And like a lot of you, we all pull up and we drop our bag with the porters in the cruise terminal. And you might have checked that bag and had very critical things in it. So for your carry-on bag, it's always suggested that you have your travel documents, your medications, sunscreen, possibly your bathing suit. I personally like to wear my bathing suit just so I don't have to, haul that in my bag. And a change of clothes, because remember, luggage could be delayed. And if you have, let's say, an early dining and your bags haven't gotten to your room, which happens very minimally, but you might need something to change into. So keep that in mind when you're doing a carry-on bag. Also, another really important thing is bring your phone charger, because you're going to be having a great time on the ship and photographing things, and what happens if your battery goes dead? So make sure your carry-on also has a charging cord. Okay, number 3, ignoring the cruise line app. My suggestion as a consumer as well as someone who owns their own travel company is, as soon as you commit to your cruise, download that cruise line's app, because it is going to have such pertinent, critical information and things for you to do. So with the cruise line app, you're going to have your check-in, you're going to reserve your dining, you are going to have part of your muster drill and safety precautions on there. You're even going to, want to see that app for your daily schedules. And it's always advisable to do this way ahead of time, because trying to download it when you're about to board is just total chaos. And, the other thing about the app is that it's going to have your check-in. Now, I always recommend check in as early as possible, because if you can get to the port early, that's a whole day you have to enjoy the ship before it even leaves. And you are going to avoid traffic and chaos and lines. So definitely use your cruise lines app. Okay, number 4, waiting too long to book. And what I'm talking about is don't book your cruise at the last minute, because you're generally not going to get the best price. So don't wait to the last minute, not only to book your cruise, but don't wait to the last minute to book the onboard activities and things that you want to do. So, back in the day, it was pretty common that you would get a really good last minute cruise deal. But those are so far and few between these days, because people are booking years in advance, and the cruise lines know they don't have the inventory to offer. So based on supply and demand, last minute is probably going to cost you more. But it depends on your schedule, and sometimes those things happen. Waiting too long to book not only your cruise, but what about the onboard activities that you want to do? If you wait too long, you may not be able to book your specialty dining. You may not get a reservation for a show. All of the things that you want to do on board will cost you more if you wait and don't do those in advance. Number 5, not budgeting for pre-cruise expenses. Now, your cruise does include quite a bit in the price, but there are some things that you may not have thought of that might, hit you with surprise when you are, let's say, getting to the port. Have you budgeted for your parking? Did you budget for the flight in? Did you budget for, the expense of the hotel? Make sure that you budget for any of those pre-cruise expenses that are not perhaps included in your cruise. Okay, number 6, travel documents. Number 6 is a doozy. Travel documents, a lot of people travel with passports, and a lot of people still travel with their birth certificates. And, if you're traveling with a passport, make sure that you check your passport is not expiring within 6 months of your trip. Because if it is, it does need to be renewed. Now, I'm going to tell you that this number 6 leads me to the cuckoo banana story that I promised you. And I will try to be as detailed, but, tell you where it all went wrong at the same time. So if you are traveling with a birth certificate, make sure that it is not a photocopy. Make sure that it is an original with a seal. And make sure that you bring your state driver's license or state ID, because you do need another piece of documentation to go along with your birth certificate. Also, when you get your travel documents, either from the cruise line directly or your travel agent, check to make sure that the reservation names match what's on your travel documents. If there's a mismatch, you may be denied boarding. And here is the cuckoo bananas story. Okay, so it starts in the terminal where this couple, a man and a woman, are going to travel on a cruise in a cruise line that they've done 2 consecutive years in a row. And the woman traveler, she is traveling with her passport, and the man traveler is traveling with his birth certificate from Puerto Rico. Now, they weren't working with a travel agent. They just made the assumption that because they had traveled the previous 2 years with that same form of identification, that everything would go smoothly, right? Because you're thinking the same thing, right? Wrong. That's not how it went. They get to the terminal. The woman presents her passport. She's checked in. The gentleman presents his Puerto Rico birth certificate with driver's license. And the agent just looks at them and says, "Yeah, you're not traveling today." What the what? Are you kidding me? Why not? This birth certificate's invalid. Well, how can a birth certificate become invalid, you ask? Well, here's the story. Back in 2010, Puerto Rico reissued birth certificates because of some sort of security breach. And these two individuals had cruised in 2020, and now it was past COVID 21, 22. And it was the third year of them using this same documentation, and they were being denied boarding. Well, ultimately, it was technically their fault because they did not check the travel document requirements. And guys, when I tell you, check your travel document requirements up to the week before you leave, because had they checked, even though they don't really know when the rule changed, they would have seen something. Okay, so let's go on with the story. So they are paraded through the terminal as, through the security line. Their things are x-rayed, and they're taken over to this area where there are hundreds of people, and there's crying, and there's yelling, and there's people on their phones trying to call home to Puerto Rico, home to their relatives. It was pandemonium. And basically, this is what was said. This birth certificate is invalid. Can you call someone in Puerto Rico or at home and get your new birth certificate? Well, the gentleman was perplexed. What new birth certificate? We've never heard of this. And supposedly, this happened back in 2010, okay? And they're like, well, it would have been mailed to your address in Puerto Rico. Well, this gentleman hasn't lived in Puerto Rico since he was a small child. So how would he have access to that? So he calls his mom, and, she hasn't heard of it. She hasn't received anything. There's no one to contact back home. And because it's a holiday weekend, the embassy is going to be closed on Monday. So there's really no one to call. So they are told that they will not be getting a refund and that he will not be traveling. So the woman, inquires and says, well, whose rule is this? The cruise line blames Homeland Security. So very nicely, she asks, well, can I speak to someone in Homeland Security? Absolutely. So they bring someone up from Homeland Security, and this is what she says. So can you explain to me why this birth certificate was good for the last 2 years, but today it is not? And his response really floored them. And this is what he said.
I don't have to explain anything to you. This is the cruise line's rule, and we're going to abide by it.
So whose rule was it? Was it the cruise line's rule, or was it Homeland Security? Because now they're both blaming each other. Well, the gentleman passenger sadly realizes that he's not going to be able to cruise. So he encourages the female traveler to go because there's not going to be a refund. And it was a total screw up. But who knew? Because, these were okay the previous 2 years. Why would you think anything has changed? So they scramble. Well, first they have to get their luggage back. And they had checked the luggage earlier, and now this whole scenario had dragged out about 3 hours, and it was almost time to sail. So guys, if this ever happens, get your luggage back before the ship sails, because you will not see your luggage for a couple of weeks. Well, fortunately, they were lucky enough to get their luggage, and they scrambled through and separated some things so that the woman could go on and travel. And, just think about the heartbreak that these people felt. One, because the woman now has to go on an 8-day cruise by herself. She didn't have to, but the male passenger encouraged her travel partner encouraged her to go. And, somebody might as well enjoy it since no one was getting a refund. So they scramble through, and, just think about the gentleman who didn't get to go on his long-awaited vacation as he's driving away from the ship that he should be on. So do everything in your power to avoid this from happening, because it's just heartbreaking. Well, the turnout of it was the woman goes on the sailing. It's an 8-day sailing. And at first she was, very sad. How am I going to do this 8 days by myself? And, when you are forced to solo cruise, it has a whole different feeling than when you choose to solo cruise. Well, the 8 days goes on. She met a lot of solo cruisers. She met a lot of people, and she made the best of it. And I have to tell you that these 2 cruisers were me and my travel partner. That's right. We made the mistake of not checking travel document requirements right before leaving. And it was an expensive and valuable lesson learned, but I will tell you how it changed our lives. I became a solo cruiser, and I also started my own travel company because I, as a consumer, also want to help you not make these mistakes. Now, was that not the most cuckoo banana story you've ever heard about getting to the terminal and not being able to go on your vacation? Well, comment down below. I'm sure you have thoughts on it. And let me tell you, we do not make any of these mistakes going forward. And if this video helped you, please give it a like. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you'll follow along and tune in to the next Cuckoo Banana Stories that will give you a life lesson and help you to cruise and set sail smoother. All right, I will see you on deck next time. Bye for now.